Hi, everyone. Live again. For those that are still with me, thank you. Thank you for showing all the support and love that you have for not just donating in for Los Angeles as a whole, but for this Found Rewatch that I'm really, really enjoying. I wasn't sure what to expect when I said that I was going to do a full marathon, basically, of this season's episodes, but I'm really enjoying connecting with everyone since it's been a while since I've done lives. So thanks everyone for being here. I want to also reiterate, showing your support for LA is enough. You do not need to donate. Not everyone has the means, and that is completely understandable. This is just a really tough time in the history of Los Angeles, and it's beautiful to see everyone coming together to help everyone. We're all kind of sitting here going, what else can we do? And this was something I felt I could do. So thank you for being a part of it with me. I hope you guys are enjoying the show. I also, in the last live, realized how interesting it is that Found is about helping people. And right now we're really in a state that, leading with kindness is the most important thing to do. And it's a constant daily reminder to remember that. I'm going to go live with someone that I had pre-planned, waiting to see if they're on here. And she is. I'm trying to maintain my excitement. See. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. I was just saying just before you came on, I'm trying to contain my excitement that you're on.
Are you kidding me? This is so my pleasure. I love that you're doing this. Can I just say thank you so much for doing this and giving people an opportunity to support LA because it's so important right now and you're like the epitome of generosity and grace and kindness. And so, of course, I was going to make time. Are you kidding me?
Well, thank you for saying that because you do have a very busy schedule. First and foremost, I wanted to ask, are you and the family okay?
Yes. Yes, we had to evacuate for a couple of days, but we are back in our home and we are safe and um, feeling very blessed and very lucky. And I know we've talked about this, but sort of trying to find a way to balance gratitude that we're okay with sort of the immense grief we're feeling as an entire, not even city, because it goes so beyond LA City, but as a whole region, just the devastation and the loss, and just trying to be there for everyone else. So, it's a day at a time
Yep,
thing,
it
but
is.
we are well, thank
It
you.
is, of course. And do you want, for those that don't know, to explain everything you've accomplished? Because I can sum it up as you have 3 shows on the air
I'm
right
just
now.
a
You No,
writer.
you are so much more than a writer. For everyone that doesn't know, this is NK. She is the creator of Found, also the creator, and correct me if I'm wrong, of All American Homecoming.
Yes.
And did you create All American, or were you just the showrunner on All American?
Just the showrunner of All
Okay.
American. So I came in on episode
Okay.
2. And it has been the gift that keeps on giving. So yeah, we're in season 7 of All American, and then there were 3 seasons of Homecoming, and then yeah, now we're in the middle of season 2 of Found. So been a tiny bit busy,
Yeah,
but I love
just a little bit.
it.
But you must be so proud of everything you accomplished. Your shows do mean so much to so many people too.
Oh, thank you. I am very proud. And it all feels very much like a dream. Like I'm a young girl from Nigeria who just used to watch an obscene amount of American TV and just loved it so much and always dreamed of sort of, writing for TV and content and all of that stuff. But I don't think I ever really like every day I come onto this lot, I'm sort of like, this is insane. Like I look at the water tower and I just feel my poor staff has to listen to me whistle and sing and cartwheel down the hall every day because I'm just like, guys, we get to make magic for a living. Like this is insane. And get to, for me, it's very important that I sort of use my power uh, to try and make a difference. I very much believe that God puts us on this earth with um, unique tools or unique skills, and the tool he gave me was my keyboard, and so I try to do good with it. And that's how a show like Found comes about. And I'm just grateful that people support and people watch.
It is, you have such a beautiful story and such a huge heart. And I didn't know that you walked around at the writer's room singing and doing cartwheels and whistling and the whole thing.
Constantly. Constantly.
So you and Chanel have that in common too. The energy you guys bring to your workplace is very I don't know what to say. It's just like infectious. I want to be around you guys all the time. Um when it comes to this entire journey you've been on, how did you come to figuring out like this is something I want to tell? Like where did Found originate from, the story itself, and knowing that you wanted to tell this?
So, it was around 2014, 2015. And there were, like 14 black and brown missing girls in the DC area. And I watch my TVs on constantly. And so even watching the news, there was nothing being reported about it. But then within sort of the Black community, within the Latinx community, there was a lot of chatter online, just sort of on Twitter and on different social medias. And I just couldn't understand how we were discussing it in social spaces, but it just wasn't mainstream news. I'm like, do our lives really matter that little? And so I started to just do some research because I didn't know. I was like, I want to do something to help. I just didn't know kind of what to do. And also, I just didn't understand how a problem could become that prevalent and it not matter to folks. And so I just started doing some digging just around, missing people, what goes into reporting a person missing, what goes into resources being allocated to missing people. And through that research, sort of started to stumble on things that had so much to just do with, it's such a vicious cycle of, what gets media attention, where resources get allocated because the media attention brings its own pressure to solve those cases, and sort of this like round robin of, in the process of all of that happening, there were certain communities that were just being underrepresented. And on the show, we call them the forgotten ones. They're sort of the ones that the world has deemed like are forgettable or, aren't worthy of as much attention when they go missing. And so as I started to sort of look at that, and I was looking at what was going on with the missing girls in DC, and also how many people were like, well, are they really missing? Is it a hoax? Like there was so much discussion around, more discussion around whether it was real or not than around how to find them. And so that's how the character of Gabby Mosley was born. I suddenly was like, okay, if I can find a way to sort of bring attention to this in a TV show, then I get to be in millions of homes. And hopefully, if even one person watching the show looks at a missing person's poster differently, then that's one more person out in the world that's helping. And so I started imagining, I was like, oh, imagine if one of these girls managed to save themselves, and grew up. What would they grow up to become, and how would that experience shape them? And that's how the character of Gabby Mosley was born. And sort of the idea of this young Black woman who had gone missing, and other than her father, no one was really looking for her. And she saves herself and then grows up to be this huge advocate for the forgotten ones, and adamant that, she was never going to let what happened to her happen to someone else if it was within her capabilities. And so that was sort of the origin. And then I started to flesh out, okay, well, she's not a vigilante, but she's not a cop. So what does that look like? What does the team look like? Started finding articles on the role PR plays. When someone goes missing, you hear call 911. You never hear call a publicist. But there are some families of means that call publicists because it helps keep it at the forefront of the media attention. So if you don't know that or don't have the resources to do that, does that mean that your loved one doesn't deserve to be on the news, or, that sort of thing? And so all of that sort of came together to fill out the world and the rest of the team, and sort of their dynamic, and the fact that they all share this common thread of, at one point in time, they were all missing, or a loved one was missing in some capacity. They all have a very personal connection to that journey, which is what fuels what they do. But even then, with all of that, I'm like, okay, if I walk in there and I'm like, we're gonna tell this show, and they're gonna be like, yeah, this is great. We need like people to keep watching, and advertisers and all the good things. And I always talk about like, burying the spinach in the smoothie. And so I was like, okay, well, what sets it apart?
I'm
Like,
sorry, I love that. I've never heard that. That was great.
yeah,
Okay.
it is how I got my kids to eat vegetables. For a very long time, they had no idea they were consuming it. And so I was like, how do I do that with the show? Like, how do I bury the spinach in the smoothie? And that was when I sort of came up with the thing. I was like, okay, well, is it that she's been looking for Sir all this time when we get to the basement and she has sort of like her murder board of like she's still tracking him? And I'm like, no, 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 we've seen that before. And then I'm like, what is the most sort of aggressive form of showing that her healing journey may not be as complete as we think it is? And that's when I came up with, oh, what if she has found him? And he is in her basement, and he's sort of the Hannibal Lecter to her Clarice. And she's a brilliant, smart woman on her own, but it whatever it takes to save a life, right? Even a minute can make a difference. 5 minutes can make a difference of finding someone alive or dead. So her rationale is he helps us get to it quicker. And the truth is, there was a lot of mental health stuff there. There was a lot of grieving. When you're grieving so aggressively, she just lost her father and had spent so little, had lost so much time with him because of Sir, that something in her snapped. And when you're grieving, you're not always in control of how you act out in that grief. And this was a very specific version of how she acted out in that grief, and then got herself caught in a situation she didn't know how to get herself out of while still doing good in the world. And you know, you hear those anecdotes about like, oh, the strong Black woman or like the superhero Black woman. And I really wanted to put a complicated Black woman on the air who's just like me and just like so many of the people I know, which is like, we're trying to do good in the world, but we're also just flawed human beings. And so we're doing the best we can with what we have while we're working through our own shit. And so there you go. That's how Found came to
It's
be.
it's a heartbreaking origins, but it's beautiful, like you said, that you're like, I want to take this platform and the intelligence that you have and the ability to write to really get these stories out there. And if it does help even one person in a
Yeah.
household, what you've done is, I can't put a word to it. It's amazing. You are an inspiration. It's an inspiration, really.
Thank you.
Um, and you really have created. You're so fantastic at creating these characters that, like you're saying, that are flawed, but you love them because of their flaws. Like you get them.
Yeah.
Um, and I think you're fantastic at that.
Oh, thank you.
Of course. And also too, you're, and this does not include me, but it's going to sound like it's woven in there, is the casting you've done. Are you in charge of all of the casting? Because every episode, the actors you cast, it helps. I will say that your writing is so fantastic that
Thank you.
it makes an actor's job easy, but you cast such amazing actors. Is that something you feel very
I
passionate about?
I do. I love actors. I grew up as part of, I went to boarding school in England, and joined the Oxford Youth Theatre, and so I have such a brilliant appreciation for actors and their process. It was also how I very quickly figured out. I was like, oh no, that wasn't what you were put on this earth to do, sweetie. Like that's what they were put on this earth to do. I'm like, you've got other talents. It's fine. We'll find them. But I have such an amazing appreciation for actors, and I would love to take credit for all of it and be like, yes, it's me. But the truth is, you know, the beauty of being a showrunner is I get to hire really brilliant people. And our casting director on Found, who's also my casting director on all my shows, like I'm like the mafia, I won't let Leah leave me. Um, she has such an amazing eye. So the options she's giving me to make the final choice from are all just brilliant. So it's always a question of, okay, well, what direction am I taking this character in? How do I feel like this person's interpretation of this character fits into sort of the tapestry of what we're doing? And so, you know, ultimately the final choice is mine, and it'll go up to studio and network for approval. But the truth is, you know, Leah sets me up for success, um, uh, in how she sort of like finds these amazing actors and then, you know, presents them on a plate. And it's like, okay, take your pick, which one do you want? And yeah, so I've been very blessed. The secret to my success, that I'll tell you all, is I just really surround myself with people who are fantastic at what they do. Hence, casting someone like you in the show, because,
That's why I was
and it's,
like,
no, but no, and I know you weren't making it about you, but it's true. Like, you know, this was such an exciting, I was so, this character has existed since day one, but I also knew I wasn't going to introduce her until season two.
Mhm.
And so to have lived with a character for so long and then finally be able to be like, okay, we're casting her, and seeing the auditions come in and so many brilliantly talented people and all their different interpretations of it. And then, a tape comes across your desk and there's just a moment where you're like, oh my God, it's Heather. It's her. And that's what happened when I saw, and I didn't even I have a lot of friends who worked on Station 19 and everything, and I legitimately forgot you worked on Station. That's how caught up in your audition I was. And then I was like, wait, hold on a minute. I know her. I know her work. Why do I know her work? And then I was like, duh, of course. But that's, credit to you because I forgot about all the work and was just like, oh my gosh, Heather's on my computer. She's here.
Well, thank you for saying all of
It's
that.
true.
It made it very easy with the dialogue. I was like, oh my gosh, it's what I always tell everyone when they said, what drew you to this? I was like, the writing, like the
Thank you.
sides were so good. But going back to I just want to point out, because you are such an amazing leader, and I think that shows that, like you're saying, you surround yourself with amazing people, that you let them do their jobs because you
Yeah.
have faith that they're so talented at what they do. And that just says so much about you as a leader. I did want to say too, it's interesting that you kind of brought it up, is do you know exactly what's going to happen? Because I had asked a couple writers, I remember when I was doing episodes, like, do you in your head know what was going to happen this season? What's going to happen next season?
To a certain degree, yeah. So I have to get the show picked
Mhm.
up. Once we shot the pilot, I gave the network sort of a series document that sort of outlined 4 to 5 seasons worth of where this. I wanted to show them that the story had longevity. This wasn't sort of like a gimmicky, like, okay, he's going to be in the basement and then we're going to get tired of that. It was like, oh no, there's a trajectory here, and also whose backstory we're telling when and why. Um, and what portion of the show the backstories would take up and how they would inform what's happening in the present. And so, yeah, I have a good 5 seasons of the show mapped out in great detail. And then sort of beyond that is bigger themes and bigger arcs, not in as much detail as I have, but those first 5 seasons, absolutely. And then at the start of every season, I always have a season document that I leave. I give all my writers that sort of walks them through for every single character what their journey is this season, what thematically we're unpacking this season, sort of what the big tent pole moments are. I call them our North Star. Like, what's our North
Mhm.
Star for every character? What are the big moments? This is how I want to end the season. This is where, Gabby's character is going to be. This is where Don's character is going to be. This is where Sir, all of that. And then I tell them, please find me a better path to the North Star. This is just a path because it helps me arc out the season. But again, by far not the smartest person in the room. They're all hired because they're all equally brilliant writers. And so I'm like, please beat my path to the North Star. And at least it gives them sort of the parameters with which to sort of move through so that we're able to be very efficient in the writer's room in terms of the journey we're taking the characters on. And then what's so amazing about the rest of my writing staff is they are so generous with their own personal stories and emotions and their own sort of in fact our whole crew is like everyone. I'll get texts from people that was like, hey, this happened to me when I was a kid and I was thinking about this, and if that helps with the story at all because I saw you guys were doing X. Everyone is so generous with their life experience, and all of that gets put into the jambalaya pot that makes our scripts. And so God bless our writers. They have very personal stories they want to tell through the themes we're talking about on the show, through the survivors we're finding on the show, and have very generously trusted, Soné, my co-showrunner, and I with those stories. And then what you get is, what you guys are watching on Peacock right
Which
now.
everyone loves. And seriously, I know it sounds, I'm going to keep repeating it and it's going to sound cheesy, but you truly are such an amazing leader and a real inspiration. And
Thank
the crew just
you.
on the ground in Atlanta loves you. I've
I
never met
love
a,
them.
it shows though. And I've never met a crew that is so into the storylines that I showed up and they're like, just giving pitches and ideas about like what's happening, what's going on. They're so invested. And I think it really just speaks volumes. So
Thank
I don't
you.
want to take up any more of your time. I know you have a very busy schedule, but thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
My
And
absolute pleasure. Thank you for doing this. Thank you to you have such an amazing fan base. So
yes,
I'm very grateful to them for embracing us Unfound and for also helping us bring attention to this very worthy cause of sort of helping the LA Wildfire Fund in helping to restore our beautiful, beautiful region. And so just thank you all. Thank you so, so much.
And thank
I'll
you. So
talk
nice
to you
getting to
soon,
talk
Mom.
with you.
Mwah, mwah,
Mwah,
mwah.
mwah, mwah, mwah.
Bye.
Bye.